So, circulating DHEA levels are very high at birth, then declines, and then start again going up from 6th to 10th year of life at anarchy, and maximum during third decade, and then constant and slow decline. By age of 70%, decline to 10 to 20%, and which is called as adenopause. But again, adenopause is not a very well accepted term. You cannot say adenopause just by DHEA deficiency, because DHEA is not everything from adenine. Mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids are also released, which are normal in ages. But adenopause is a term which is always debatable. So don't diagnose anybody adenopause. Don't do that. Don't write on your paper case of adenopause. Scientifically not validated term till now. It may get. Adenopause is independent of menopause or andropause, so it's a parallel entity. Secretion of DHEA but not DHEAS shows the diagonal variation. Therefore, when we investigate a patient, we see the DHEAS, which is more stable. The ACTH induced DHEA secretion response is decreased in elderly. When ACTH is given, DHEA secretion is not that good what in young, but cortisol is maintained because cortisol is a life-saving hormone. Men have more DHEA, we all know that. There is a genetic, what I was telling you about growth hormone also. So hormones, the effect of hormones also depend upon the genetic variation. So few people respond very good, few may not. So the reason is the genetic component. How they clear the hormone from their body. So everything affects the demography, the race, religion, whatever you follow. Your genetics affect the, therefore something called as pharmacogenomics has come in a big way. Pharmacogenomics. Whether you really have the genes to metabolize that drug or not. So that has a, now future is genetics. After a few years, future is genetics. Stem cells will be on a secondary or tertiary. It's a very small thing after 5-6 years. Stem cell life is 5 to 7 years. It will be like a very common thing, like paracetamol and all. The big thing will be genetics. So the higher inter-individual variability in any group of similar age is partly inherited. So is the family. And serum DHEA level has been suggested to be a specific individual marker. So here is, I have already told you about this slide, the preferential conversion of DHEA to estrogen in men and DHEA to testosterone in women. So it's a very good way of estrogen replacement in men and a testosterone replacement in women. And because of these three enzymes, 3-beta-HSG, 17-beta-HSG, and 5-alpha-reductase, and also the aromatase, in various tissues of the body, DHEA is a very good source of these hormones, estrogen and testosterone, in various body organs, body cells. So it is called as the endocrine mechanism. So what is endocrine? A hormone is made in one gland and it is released out and acting somewhere else. And what is intracrine? Hormone is built in the same gland or same organ and is used there only. So DHEA is a very good substrate, a raw material for this intracrine synthesis of testosterone and estrogen in all the other tissues, brain, liver, kidneys, everywhere. So wonderful. Got it? If you want to deliver testosterone to every tissue and you don't want to give testosterone, DHEA. Because they all have these enzymes inside. And testicle is aging already, but these glands don't age. Brain, liver, age means, I am talking about the production part. They do age, but does not like testicle or ovarian completely shrinking. They don't do like that. Very gradual aging process. No abrupt fall. So this DHEA is a good substrate. So if I am like thinking of giving somebody the HRT and I am not very confident to start with estrogen and testosterone, maybe I'll try with DHEA, see how effective it is, and then I gain some confidence and then put them on testosterone. So for a beginner, safer is always easier for a beginner, right? So, I have already spoken about them in the brain, NMDA receptor, GABA receptor, DHEA works and how it works on the mood stabilization. How the people on DHEA, high dose DHEA have shown the features of mania also. How the DHEA can revert the hippocampal atrophy done by the cortisol or by depression. The only drug which has shown that, other than antidepressants. Think, hippocampal atrophy, and one drug is completely recreating it. Stem cells do we require at that time? Simple DHEA is doing it, which is proven by the studies. What you call as the fractional MRIs and blah blah blah, all those studies. Proven. Okay? So neuronal outgrowth, and in the traumatic injury, brain injury, ischemic injury, DHEA has shown to increase the neuronal growth. One is estrogen, another is DHEA. So I told you about this hippocampal protection. Then DHEA has an effect on the immune system through the lymphocytes, so the cell-mediated immunity. Both DHEA and cortisol, they work through the cell-mediated, so they complement each other. And anti-inflammation by this interleukin pathway. So, already spoken about that. Antidepressant effect of DHEA in subsyndromal depression and dysthymia. Seasonal affective disorder, DHEA has shown benefit in these patients. Point is very clear. If you find somebody antidepressant is depressed, don't do anything. Listen to the patient. If your diagnosis is confirmed, it looks like depression, send the patient to a psychiatrist. At least initially. Let a psychiatrist handle, and you can parallelly do the endocrine thing. Clear? But if you feel patient is not depressed, it is just a feeling of low, but it's not clinical depression. Do the hormonal profile, do the nutritional profile, and there you can take advantage of something like this. But make sure you don't delay the treatment. Got it? And Parkinson's? No literature, no studies are there. They show that it will definitely help. But hypothesis says that it can help in Parkinson's. Because it causes that neuronal growth and it has effect on dopamine, DHEA. So it may. But again, not as a therapeutic agent in Parkinson's. As an additional, add it. See the difference. And the irony is that it's one of the wonderful drug or a hormone or medicine, but studied the least. Studied the least, DHEA. But now the era is coming when people are not talking about it. They study. People want to study about it more and more. So in schizophrenia patient, madam, like about Parkinson's, then you will talk about schizophrenia. A schizophrenia patient with predominant negative symptom, 8 weeks of 100 mg per day DHEA, 8 weeks means 2 months, have shown the improvement in the negative symptom, anxiety and depression. So why not to try in Parkinson's too? So DHEA treatment has shown antidepressant and anti-anorexic effects. So anorexia nervosa. Those patients don't improve with antidepressant actually, because it is a psychiatric issue, but again antidepressant they are not willing to take themselves. So they are so conscious about their body and all those things. So DHEA can be something which can help them. Anti-GABAergic and NMDA stimulating effect may contribute to the antidepressant effect of DHEA. DHEA may be considered as a neurostimulatory hormone or steroid, and there are few cases of mania which I have been repeating again and again. Cognitive effect, when you talk about memory and all those things, not much of the studies have shown improvement. Mood, yes. Cognition, studies could not show much, whether it enhances the memory or all those things. Because in Addison's disease, cognition is not impaired. That is a suggestive thing, in spite of DHE being very low. So probably it may not work for cognition. Again, few studies have been done where DHEA has been used as a booster with the vaccination. They have shown to improve the antibody response to tetanus and the influenza vaccine. But then not much of the studies were conducted. So in anti-aging, we talk about annual vaccine, flu shot, right? So DHEA hypothetically or whatever the hypothesis is there enhances the immune response in these patients. It is likely that the beneficial effects of DHEA are more easily detectable in patients with immunopathy and an altered immune system at a baseline. So again the same thing. If you are good, adding a medicine will not help you. If you have some issues, then adding will help. So diagnose it first. Don't simply give like empirical things that everybody should have it. So same thing SLE. So here if you see this, studies have shown that 200 mg per day of DHEA supplementation reduce the number of SLE flare up and also decrease the dose of corticosteroids. What we are worried in these patients is long-term use of corticosteroids. If we can decrease the dose by any means, we can try that. For both osteoporosis, we have already spoken. So the same thing. And even these patients who were on 200 mg per day, they did not show much of the side effect. So very surprising. Quite safe, I will say. So many studies that on DHEA have shown all these beneficial effects, something like growth hormone. So lean body mass, fat mass, BMI, insulin sensitivity, IGF-1, BMD, quality of life index, lipid profile, endothelial function, dermatological effect. A lot of studies are there which show benefit. The dose which were used in these people, in these studies were mostly 25 to 50 milligrams. Still,